I'm excited to introduce our special guest speaker tonight to kick us off, Drew McCoy, aka Genetically Modified Skeptic. He is an atheist content creator with more than 800,000 subscribers on YouTube, more than 100 million views. He knows how to get a message across, and he's got a message for us. Drew, my friend, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's a true honor. Let me take you to Atheist Church for just a few minutes here. So, Emil Durkheim, one of the founders of modern social science, proposed that religion may be defined as a social system which separates ideas and objects into categories of sacred and profane. Now, to make something sacred to Durkheim means setting that thing apart and protecting its status as inviolable. The term profane, to Durkheim applies to everything else. It does not have a negative connotation for him. The profane is simply the mundane. It is everything that is not specifically protected and that which does not interfere or intermingle with the sacred. This conception of religion was built to describe communal ways of thinking, regardless of specific supernaturalist beliefs or lack thereof. So I think it's possible and pretty fascinating to look at humanism as Durkheim would. What do humanists hold sacred? I think many of us would agree that the answer is every human life, every person's right and ability to self-determination, every person's right to give voice to their needs and to have their needs met. We in humanist spaces like to regularly talk about how we may respect and preserve human life in our support for political policies. We regularly talk about how we want healthcare for all. We want education, childcare, food and housing stability, everything that's necessary for a high quality of life guaranteed to all people. That is fantastic. We need to keep having those conversations, but I think that we're overdue for a larger conversation about that sacred voice which all people possess, the one which expresses needs for both basic subsistence and existential fulfillment and self-actualization. The political system which we have inherited is frankly not designed to consider that voice from most people. In fact, it was purpose-built to exclude and even eliminate that voice in the majority of people who have ever lived under its rule. This is the case not just because of gerrymandering or voter suppression or corporate lobbying, but also, much more fundamentally, because it demands that most political decisions be made by very few representatives rather than through the deliberation of the people which policy affects. This inherently places distance between the sacred voice of the individual person and all those who listen for that voice and strive to fulfill what it asks, us humanists, if we are doing what we need to do correctly, I think. It demands that if they are to respect what we humanists hold sacred, a representative must be superhuman in their ability to listen to that voice, to have empathy, to act effectively, and resist corruption. As no one actually is superhuman, this system of representation in politics sets up representatives to, at times, neglect at least some of their constituents and sets up most people to have their voice go, at least at times, unheard. In Durkheimian terms, at least from my humanist perspective, this profane institution constrains the sacred. It even constrains our ability to treat the sacred as such, to build a system in which all people have their needs met and no person or state or corporation can pursue its own wealth through exploitation. This view motivates many humanists, myself included, to build communities where democracy is direct and needs may be expressed to and met by peers without interference. Our lumbering political system persists for the time being, though, and while engaging in it risks the neglect of the sacred for the sake of the profane, we can still find some opportunity to work through this system for the benefit of human flourishing. In pursuing this opportunity, though, we must keep our values in focus. Remember that working within this political system is just a means to an end. We do not engage in this work to maintain the system, but to benefit the people it affects. In other words, do not mistake the profane for the sacred. For those seeking to represent others, thank you for being here tonight. This means that your duty is not only to resist corruption and listen to your constituents, but to help create a democratic system which places the power to express and to meet human need back where it really belongs, in the hands of every person. For those seeking to support humanist political candidates today, thank you again for being here tonight. We need you. Refusing to mistake the profane for the sacred means refusing to allow your political will and imagination to be constrained by the current political process. You must speak to your representatives about your needs loudly and constantly, yes. But you must also build power for yourselves apart from any system which fails to meet your needs either accidentally or by design. There is unfortunately a multitude of people who do not hold every person sacred, but rather elevate the will of a select few above all others. And they spread the notion that their preferred political systems, their institutions and traditions are sacred themselves, and thus that changing those systems is off limits. We humanists, on the other hand, believe that it is not the tools which humans create, but humans themselves which hold such distinction. As we seek to express our humanism through political action today, let us remember what that really means. We are ultimately here to uplift our fellow person, not to uphold anything less sacred. Thank you, guys.